Perfect. So hello everyone, welcome to the second lesson today. Oh, I thought I disabled the waiting room. Now, perfect. Okay. Hello everyone to the second lesson for how to create arrangements, instrumenting piano pieces. Today we're going to basically talk about note entry, and I will not actually go much more into presentations, but we'll directly go into note entry in Dorico. So last week we already had an overview over Dorico SE, and today I'm going to give you some first overview on how you can enter notes in Dorico. If you have Dorico open on your side, you can follow along if you want, but of course you can also watch this anytime. So what I want to do is I want to enter this piece of music, part of it. We will not get through everything, of course, into Dorico. So we cannot use, there's no scanning version in Dorico. We cannot just import a PDF. So we have to enter it by ourselves, but it's a good way to get to learn how Dorico works. I also have, if you see here, a small green window where the shortcuts, if I will be using them, will be displayed. Yeah, but so just that you know how everything works. Like so, first we want to create a new project. I already said we can create a project basically in two ways. Either we can start with a template and then create new. We can give it a title. Composer. Already talk about page size, some visual formatting, some music and text fonts. This is a topic we will actually not cover. We can give a time and key signature. So we could, for example, just say we want to have this. And then I chose solo piano, of course, as a first project. And then this is what we would get. So we would get already an empty project in write mode, and we could start writing here. But in order to show you a little more things, I will actually create a project like this from the file and new. Because then what we get is just an empty project. Let's make it the size fit so we can see both next to each other. And of course, the first thing we do now is to save. I will save it as this Dorico file, which I created before, but I will just replace it. No problem. Okay, so for now, I saved it. So I already showed you how you can add players last time, but we will go through everything here once more. So I want to add a single player here. I can click on that, and then I can just type piano. And then there's the piano, and I can just add it like this. And then I have my piano player. I have a full score and a piano layouts, and I have already my flow one. My flow one will be actually just from me, so I know what is the music. And before I enter music, I just want to do one more things here and project info under file. I can actually change some things that Dorico did before automatically, but I want to be able to do it here. So I will call it Internal 3 lead, and the composer is Franz Liszt. And I can add here some information, which then Dorico will display here. And here's the composer very well. Now we have this double, but for now we don't really care about it actually, because we will change it later. Okay, so that's basically all I want to do in setup for now. I saved the file, I created all the information that I want, and then in write mode, I can start to write. Now, last time I was already saying that there's many ways how to enter music in Dorico, and I will present them to you once more. But I also said that I personally like working in gallery view, and this is here, this view, and instead of page view, because in the page view, I feel like I'm getting distracted with how the music looks like. But first thing we want to do is actually want to enter the music. So I personally just switch to gallery view in this step. And it's, if you remember, it will become a long panorama of music. Okay. Then the first things I always like to do before I enter any notes is to make sure I have all the key signature, time signature, and tempo set. The clefs are already, of course, there. So here on the right, you will find these things which are not notes. Here on the left, you find the things which are notes. And here we have and this symbol is the key signatures. Now there's again many ways how we could enter the key signature. We could just, for example, click here until we have our A flat major, and having the rest selected, we just click on it and it will create the key signature for us. Another possibility is the popovers, which I was explaining or also presenting last time shortly, but now we're using them a little more in depth. And in this case, for the key signatures, I can either get them here. If I click here on this keyboard, then I'll have the popovers, and you can see that I can click here and it pops up, and I can just write A flat, and I get the same. Or if I don't want to click anywhere, I can use Shift K for key signature, K like key signature, and also write A flat. It's the same. The good thing about the popovers is that I think they're very fast and they're very logical. So Shift K is the key signature. Shift D are the dynamics. Shift O are ornaments like trills. Shift R are repeats. Shift M is the meter or the time signature. And now you see that actually we have a 6/4 meter, so I could start well, that's wrong, 6/4. But then we also need to have a pickup bar. So again, I click Shift M for my meter. And if I want to have a pickup bar, now that's something that some people find very confusing in Dorico. I enter my meter first, and then I write comma, and then I choose how many beats I want as a pickup bar. So in our case, we want 1 beat because we have 1/4. But for demonstration, I will now, for example, do 3 beats, and then you can see we have some red flag here. And if I were to enter notes, you can see that we have here 3/4. If I delete that and do the same with comma 1, you see that we have 1/4 as an upbeat, and then comes our normal 6/4 as standard. Okay. I think we have everything except for the tempo, and the tempo starting with T, you can enter with Shift T for tempo. Again, you can also go here. You also can go here. And for example, when you are in this panels, you have a list of different tempos that you might want to choose. The thing about the tempos is that you can change the text always afterwards. So for example, I can choose Allegro here, but now it's written poco allegro con affetto. So how can I change it? I can double click it and I can just, for example, write it. But then I can also, you've seen that it was just a popover, so I can just start with a popover and directly write it. I think that's the easiest one. But if you think these popovers are a little weird, I was also introducing you to the properties panel, and this is this thing on the bottom here, which you can expand like this on this small arrow. And this is these properties which are changing depending on what you have selected. So for example, on the key signatures, I can have certain properties. The time signatures can have certain properties, and also the tempo. And you can see here that I can change the text also here. And I can also change the tempo here. For example, to 110. Oops. 110. And I can also decide if I want to show the text. So now it only says, let me just hide this flag for a second. Now only says 110. If this should be in parents, if it should be approximate, or if I want the text, which I give here, and actually no metronome mark. So you see that the tempo here is still 110. And if I play back, it will still play back with 110, but I will not see the metronome mark here. And this is maybe, for example, one way where I can already change the playback speed here, but I don't have to write it down and it will be hidden. And this is what I also last time meant in Dorico. You can change how things are looking like afterwards, or like decide and everything. It understands that this is a tempo, and it has different properties on how to show the tempo if you want to. Okay, but I think for now we have most of the things set up, and we can start to enter the music. Now, again, we can enter the music in many different ways. I first mostly enter the music, and then I choose all the other things, like put in the other things like crescendo, slurs, etc. So I would start with the music here, and I will start with a lower system. To enter the music, we need to enter the note input mode, and I can do it by clicking here. I can also do it by pressing Shift N, as you have seen here. The shortcut was shown. And now I can enter music. I can enter music in many different ways. I will show you some. What some people maybe like, especially if you want to use the mouse a lot, I would recommend you to use the keyboard, which you can find here on the bottom as well. You can choose the note value. You can see that it changes like together here, and you can also use some already put some accents. And like this, you can just enter the music. So for example, here with this E, then the card moves to the next step, and then we have the A flat. Another way to put in music is, if I delete that, with a keyboard, like a MIDI keyboard, a small keyboard connected via USB. I actually don't have one here. I could have, next time maybe I will prepare to bring one. And the third option is to input it via the keyboard on the, you can also use the mouse if you want. So I can also deselect this mode, which is called select. If I do not have select, you see I have the gray note here, and I can just start entering with a mouse. But I find that a little, let's say, not so clean. But I can also enter with a keyboard on my computer. And for this, we have different shortcuts. So you can already see here, the quarter note, there's a blue 6. So this is, I can press 6 and I will get a quarter note. If I go to the half note, I could press 7 and I will choose a half note. For the eighth note, for the whole note, can press 8. For the eighth note, I can press 5 and 4 and 3 and 2, etc. So the row on the keyboard on top, I can choose the duration. And with just the keys, I can choose the note name. So for example, I can just enter E on my keyboard, and will enter an E, and I can choose A. And will enter an A flat, E flat and A flat. So when I do this, Dorico automatically respects the key signature. So although I wrote E and A, it's actually E flat and A flat. And now I could continue to write. With the arrows, I can move this caret around. And for example, write here a G. So I can just still have a quarter G. I'm on the next bar. And like this, I can continue. But now we have two problems. The first problem is that the music always ends here. So that's a little annoying. The second problem is that we are in the wrong octave. So let me just delete that quickly. And let's deal with the first problem. We want to add more bars. Again, I can go here to the panels and there's a bar and bar lines. And I can just say, enter, I don't know, 50 bars. And then click insert bars, and it will just add me these 50 bars. I can achieve also the same thing again with a popover with Shift B. There's the bars popover. You see it's the same symbol, and I can just write 50. And like this, it also enters 50 bars. Okay, so problem 1 is solved. Let's hide that again. Now I have enough bars, and I can just go around and write in which bar I want. And if I need more bars, I can always write. I can always add more. Now we have the problem with the A flat. The nice thing about Dorico is that I can enter A, and there's many ways now for me to manipulate the note. One way is, for example, I can just click it and drag it. And you see, again, I have the ghost note, and I can drag it to different pitch. I can also drag it actually to a different position. And there's a small orange window around it. So this would be one way. I could just basically just drag it where I want. And I can either drag it horizontally, or I can drag it vertically. Yeah, so I could just drag it like this. Another way for me to do it, especially when I already enter the notes via the keyboard, I have my fingers on the keyboard, is just with keyboard shortcuts. And in Dorico, you can move the caret with the arrows, so left and right, and up and down. But when you press Alt, the Alt key, you can change the selected note. So if I press Alt and right, you see it looks a little different here. Then I can actually move the note around, and I can do that in steps defined here in the small window. So I can, for example, choose a very big step. And if I now move, you see it will jump in whole notes. Okay, it's a little too far. Oops. But I usually use the 8th because I think that's for the most music, it's somewhat good. So I can move this around left and right. I can also move it around up and down with Alt, and it will go diatonically. So the key signature will go up and down. Now maybe I want to move it up an octave, then I press Alt and Command, or in Windows, Alt and Control, and then up and down arrow, I can transpose in octaves very quickly. I can also go chromatically. For this, I can press Alt and Shift, and I can go chromatically up and down. And if I want to make a note longer or shorter, I can also press Alt and arrow and press right. We're making it longer, and you see, I can just make a note longer, or I can make it shorter. So these are the possibilities on how to manipulate the note. And I think this makes Dorico rather flexible to use, because in this way I can be very quick. Now we have the wrong note, and I can just continue entering notes. Again, this is the fastest way for me. There's many different people, and they have many different styles. So I will just show you what works best for me, and I will also try to show you as much as possible other things around in order for you to choose what's good for you. So let's maybe just do the first 4 bars. So this is rather easy. I can just continue, go here, then I just press F for the F, and then I will press B for the B. And again, the B is in the wrong octave, so I can just like switch it down like this. Now on the top, on the left, right hand, it's a little more complicated, but also not impossible. Again, I can just enter note entry mode, and I will start with these eighths first. So what I do is I choose my eighth as a value, and either I can click it here, or I can enter it via my keyboard. And now what I do is I actually select, before I continue, I select them, and I already want it to be slurred. So I can either press S, or I can click this, and then I will have a slur. And now I select everything together. And this is again something which I think is very nice in Dorico. You can easily repeat stuff. So I select the rest, I select the whole pattern, and just press R like 40 times, or like let's say a little, and I will just press, press, press. And in this way, I can just repeat the whole pattern like this. And you see that now I have always the same, but it's faster for me to just now change the notes instead of always entering everything the same. So I can just now go through the notes and change them in different ways. Just select them, and for example here, make this an E or an F, F flat in this case. Dorico decides for that. I will show you how to change it in a moment. Oh, and I forgot the A's. But for example, what I can also do is I can just select these and move them like this. And so now I can go through the rest of the piece and change the music accordingly. Oops, yeah, that was too fast for my own good. Yes, so this is how I can continue. You see now here we have the issue that this F flat should actually be an E natural. And this is something that you will probably encounter often with Dorico. And, you know, it's not uncommon to be a little frustrated about it, but it's also not a problem. So when you are in this keyboard view, what you actually can see here is we have some respell buttons, and we can say respell using the note above or respell using the note below. We can, for example, click this and it will respell it. I want to also show you, though, another very cool feature of Dorico, which is the so-called jump bar. And you will find it, where is it actually? I don't know where it is, but I know how you can get it even faster. I thought I would find it here. No, but one very fast way to get to it is just to play J for jump bar. And this is basically like a shortcut to everything. So for example, I can say respell using name below, and I click this and it will just apply this function. So I don't have to look through all these things here. Yeah, I mean, I would find it probably, actually don't know where to find it. That's very funny because I never look in these things. I just use the jump bar, just use J, and then I have no problem. So whenever you're looking for a function and you kind of know what you're looking for, you can use the jump bar for this. Okay, so let's continue maybe just doing these bars. So here I have to watch out, it's a G. And then we can actually, probably the easiest would be here just to go like this and then go like this. And this note is a little different. Okay. And then it repeats. Okay, let's, I think we can try to go until bar 7. All right, so now I have entered this. Now I only actually need to enter the middle voice. And for this, I need to create a new voice. So if I would enter here now the C, like this, it would just delete everything else. And for this, in Dorico, we use voices, and you can create a new voice with this button, which says create voice. If you hold longer, you can also create different types of voices. You can also use the shortcut, which is presenting to you, which is Shift V. And now you see there's a small plus, and there is a node with a stem downwards. And Dorico thinks in general in downwards and upwards stems. So this was upward stem, and this will be now downward stem. So I will just enter the C. Oh, I need a dot. So I can either press dotted notes or I can press dot on my keyboard and then can enter C. Again, we're in the wrong octave. No problem. Just go down. And then we have the C again. And then we have the C for 5 beats. But I am lazy. I will just repeat and I will just make this longer. Then we have a quarter C. So I press 6 and C. And a half note C, quarter C, half note D flat, and quarter C, and then dotted half, and then we need an F. Oops, and again, I did the wrong length, so I can just shorten it like this, and the wrong octave. Okay, but now we're starting to see, actually in our example, the C is not always in the same staff. Now, this example is a little unclear here, but there's basically several ways on how to achieve that. The easiest one would be probably to just select this note and with right click, paste special, move to the staff below. Or again, with the jump bar, just type move to the to staff below. I also created a shortcut for that, but yeah. And so I can just select these notes that I want to be there and just repeat this. Just press J again and we'll just repeat this. Okay. But now you can actually see that here, this is also a little different because although it kind of is on the upper staff, there's no rests here. So what it actually means is that it comes from the lower staff. So I will just move it low. And there's something called cross beaming, where you can select nodes and, for example, move them to the staff, but they actually belong to the upper staff. So I can, for example, just press M. You can see that it's still connected to everything. It's visually still here, but it's actually not in the lower staff because there's no other rests created. So this is something that exists. It's called cross staffing, and you can right click and, for example, cross staff to above, and then I can move it like this. This is another option. Okay, and then here we actually, I would say, continue in the lower staff. So I need to enter an F, E, C, E, A. Then again, we go here. Oh, no, okay. And then we go here again. And then we would continue here. Okay. Now we see that we also might need a second voice here for the left hand. So let's also create the second voice here. Again, Shift V. I will have my second voice and E flat. Let's continue in the same voice. Another E flat, but this time the octave higher. Oops, there was a wrong beat. Like this. And then let's continue. A flat. And another A flat, but the octave lower. And another A flat. Okay. Now we already made some progress, but some things are still different. So for example, you can see here we have a rest and we actually don't have a rest here. Some of the stem directions are not correct. This is going up, but here it's going down. We can fix these things. I will show you how, but not all of them actually need fixing. So if you want to have, if we have these rests and then this in the middle of the bar, and especially they belong to some other voices, then we can just use this function remove rests. Again, we can also just use the jump bar and hit remove rests and it will disappear. And like this, I can go, for example, through this excerpt and just remove the rests, which are unnecessary, such as this one. Okay, see, so here it's like very confusing because here are two rests actually in the bottom. So this one actually belongs to the top staff, and I will just move to the staff above, but into the second voice. I want to remove this rest again. And then I can cross staff it down. Okay, this is not very technical, but yeah, so these things, this addition is a little weird where to show rests, but all of this is possible. Okay, this one I don't want to have, I will remove it. And I think for now, I am set. Yeah, actually, I think this should be a dotted half because this doesn't make sense. Okay. So now we're getting a little closer. If we want to make these look upwards, you can just select them and press F or flip, and they will flip around like this. All right. So now we enter the music. Now my second step is to enter the slurs. I mean, here I have already entered them, but for example, here I also want to flip it. So I would just press F. Flip in general means to flip something up or down. So you can either select the note and it will flip it up and down, and also select slur, it will flip it up and down. You can select many things and it will flip position. And here I think it's the same. Okay. Now, I want to have slurs. So the first slur I want is from this note to this note. And again, I can create a slur, but you see it looks a little different. I can go to the properties of the slur, and here under direction, I can choose the right direction. And I want this kind of S-shaped slur. And yeah, so this is what I have now. And apart from that, we need a slur from here. And I think the direction is again, yeah, this one doesn't look so good. Why is it here? This doesn't make any sense. Oops, sorry. Yeah. Okay. That's weird. Maybe I will try to do it like this. Okay. Then let's maybe also choose this kind of slur because it just looks a little better. Let's also slur this. This rest we don't want. And this needs to be slurred. But again, it's a little annoying. I don't remember this behavior like this. Maybe they changed something. So this works. Ah, now it works. Okay. So let's get rid of this rest. And they too should look upwards. Okay. And then we have a big slur from here to here, which is press S. This one works fine, great. And then here we need a slur. Perfect. Okay. So this is how we can add slurs to our music. Another thing is here we have this text written dolce cantando, and we can either just select this note and write a text. Cantando, select everything and make it italic. This would be one way, the easiest way. Another way would be, because we probably also want to have a dynamic, but it's not written here. So we can just choose a dynamic. I will now choose mezzo forte, and we can write dolce cantando as a suffix here. And we can also, again, say we don't want the MF to be written, so we can just hide the intensity marking, and then this is how it looks like. Looks also very close to what we want to have. Okay, then we have some more things. We have some arpeggios here, for example, and here. And for this, we can just select these notes, and then on ornaments, we have this arpeggio sign. We can just select that. And here. And we also have some pedal markings. And for this, I will just select this first note. So pedals are in the playing technique, and you can see here the playing techniques are basically a list of many, many different things that instruments can additionally do to change the sound. So we have some common things like marcato, we have consordino, we have mute in another language. We have bisbigliando. On the wind instruments, we have certain techniques like flutter tongue. We have Aeolian sounds. We have key clicks, slap tongues. The brass, we have different mutes, bucket mute, harmon mute, open, etc. So we have a long list of different techniques that instruments can use. And on the keyboard, we of course have also the pedal. So I can click this pedal and I will hide it. Because it's a pedal for each bar, I will make it as long as one bar, but it looks a little different. So what I can do is I can, again, in the properties, change the appearance of it. So first, the sign should not be the pedal glyph, but actually just the P symbol. And then in continuation, it should not be a line, but actually it should be nothing. And so this is how it looks like. It's a pedal. Dorico understands what it means. It understands because the length is still until here. So you can see that although there's no line, you can see these two dots. And Dorico still understands that these are the dots. Again, I can just use many, many different ways to how it looks. But Dorico understands still that all of that different things are the same effect, meaning a pedal from here to there. And then I can just choose it and I can repeat it. And it will repeat it for the next bar. And we need to repeat it again. And here we have actually a stop sign. So I will actually put a sign in the end. I can repeat it again with no sign. And then I can repeat it again. Now here we need two pedal markings. And using our trick from before with making notes shorter and longer, we can also make everything else shorter and longer. So I can just select this and with Alt arrow left, I can make it shorter until here. Then I can repeat it again, make it shorter because actually it should be until here. And then we need a sign. And then we make it, we repeat it once more. We can also move it with Alt arrow. So we Alt command arrow, so we don't, I cannot only make it longer and shorter, but we can also move it. And then we make it longer again like this. and then we would repeat it again without the sign. It's a little incoherent here how the signs are used at the end, but in this way we can get the same result if we want. We can also just always use the same. Of course, it's also understandable. Now, lastly, let's talk a little more about dynamics. Here they're very free. I already showed you how you can enter dynamics with a popover. You can just enter whatever you like. And also one great thing in Dorico is you can enter multiple dynamics at once. So if I select, for example, this whole bar, I can choose a dynamic and I can say, start with a piano, do a crescendo, crescendo to fortissimo, and then decrescendo to mezzo piano. And Dorico will put all of this together and will spread it over the whole bar. So this is, of course, very handy. In our case, we don't have such complex dynamics. But again, this is something that Dorico can do very easily. So what we have actually here is we have a crescendo from here to here. Oops, I should not select these things. And either, again, I can choose the dynamics here, or I can enter them via the popover. So here, I can also just enter it here and make it longer. Also, that's possible. Yes. Okay. I think these were all the dynamics until the bar 7. Yeah, so these were, I think, the basic note entry things. Let's look at it in page view. And you can see it looks rather similar to what we created. Looks actually rather nice. Of course, here the notes are a little closer, but all of these things we can always decide later. So this is basic note entry things. There's many more things I want to talk about next time when we get to a little more things which are specific for the instruments. But I think for today, that's already enough. So one more thing about next time then. So please, until next week, then, oops, that's the wrong deadline. It's from the other course. I didn't change it. So it's the 10th November. Until next week, please enter a simple piano piece into Dorico. I think the best pieces to choose are from the 19th and early 20th century. So ideally it should be short and it should not be too fast, so not too many notes. There's some examples here. Liszt Liebesträume, Schubert's Moments musicaux, Chopin Nocturnes work very well. What also works well is, for example, Grieg. Yeah, I mean, there's later some faster notes, but there's some options here as well. And so please choose one piece. It should not be too long, maybe 2 to 3 pages, and enter it in Dorico. And we will talk about it next week, because next week after the lesson, we will have the first review of the homework where we will look at your piano pieces and I can just give you some feedback about them. Okay. Do you have any more questions?
I have one little question.
Yes.
About fingering. Should we know something about it now, or it will be later?
That's a good question. Did I forget fingering? No, it's a good question actually, because it's about piano. There was no fingerings here, right? They were later. Okay. Yes. So with fingerings, it's also rather easy. I'm just checking. Yeah, it's here. So when you click on the popovers here, you can see that there's some other options than like some more options than without it. And some of these options is also fingerings. In Dorico, there's many ways how to enter fingerings. The slowest way is if you select a note and you can scroll here, then you can just say, for example, finger or positions, and you can enter 2, and it will show this to you. The faster way is to press either this fingering or Shift F for fingering. You can see it's the same symbol. And then what you can do is you can just, and I will just now make up fingerings because yeah, I don't know how you would play it. Probably like this. Okay. And you can just either press space to go to the next note, or you can press the right arrow to go to the next note, and you can just like enter things like here. And you can just go through the piece like this. So this is how you can add fingerings. And if you don't want anymore, you can either click or you can press escape. And so you can write fingerings like that. That's a good question. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Mhm.
What is your version, Dorico? Because I have less function on the right.
Sorry, I did not understand the question. Can you repeat?
What is your what version do you have, Dorico?
Of Dorico?
Yes.
So this
Yes,
is
of
the
Dorico.
newest version, which is 5.1.6 or 16.
Mhm. Mm. I have an older one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you should be able to update for free. So I don't think anything I showed you should be different in older versions. I think everything we do should be the same. Yeah, but if you these things, they exist, I think, from Dorico 4 point something. So yeah, just so you know. Okay, more questions.
Can we listen to our project?
Yeah, of course. Let me just make sure I will choosing the right. So if you have the Dorico sounds installed, just one moment, because I'm making sure that you will hear it also. Yes, you should be able to hear it. I will make it a little louder because sometimes it's a little quiet. Yes, and you can just press either play here. Yes, like this, or you can just press, for example, P to play any selected note. Yeah. You will
Okay,
talk. Hmm?
thank you. Okay.
Yeah, you're welcome. There will be more talk about this playback in some later lecture. Okay, perfect. There's one more question. I will from Eugene. I will write to you via mail. Okay, I will answer you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Have a nice week. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.